Hello, and welcome back to the next reading vlog with questionable beginning lighting. Normally, I like to start my videos professionally in a professional environment and then do weird stuff like this, like halfway through the video, because it feels more personal. However, it is like 11:30 at night, and I want to start reading our next book now, and I can't be bothered to turn all my lights on. So, I'm just going to introduce it to you in an unprofessional environment with the little pixels, and that's okay. Maybe you don't even care. Maybe you don't even care. It's like, shut up and talk. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. I'm a yapper, so let me talk. So we are starting a new reading vlog today. I'm very excited. I have not done a spoiler-free reading vlog since I read the Natural series, and that was like 3 or 4 months ago at this point. So I'm very excited to do this with this duology. If you clicked on the video without like getting any information from like the title or the thumbnail, let me introduce you to the book that we're going to be reading today. And that is going to be One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. To say I'm excited for this duology would be an understatement. I have been wanting to read this for like a good month and a half now, which for me is a really long time, okay? Like, I've obviously owned the book a lot longer than a month and a half, but I've been like staring on it on my shelf for a month and a half, being like, you're gonna be the next thing I pick up. And just so many other things got in the way that I haven't gotten to. So we're doing it today. Now, I'm gonna be so real with you. This book's available on Kindle Unlimited. I'm gonna start reading it on there with my lights off. I'm turning off my little turtle light and reading in the dark and breaking my eyeballs, okay? I don't care if I go blind by the time I'm 30. Just let me read in the dark. So that's what I'm gonna go do. I'm gonna go read in the dark. You want to read in the dark with me? Gosh, I love reading in the dark. Oh, you know what I should do before we go read in the dark? Let me tell you what I know about this. Nothing. I know nothing. If you don't know me, I refuse to read backs of books. I really just think it spoils too much of the book for me. But I did get this duology because I saw both Sarah and Destiny, who are really popular booktubers, read it, and I trust them. I do. I also had my mom read it before me, and she liked it as well. But that doesn't say a lot because her and I have very different book tastes. All I know is that it's a fantasy, and that there's some sort of weird, dark, misty thingy inside of her that's also like its own person. I'm gonna be so real with you when I say the bar is low because I've heard that it's good for a beginning fantasy. So I'm kind of basing it off of my scale that I have for ACOTAR now that I've read ACOTAR. For those of you who don't know, I read ACOTAR. I had really high expectations and it just didn't meet them. However, I no longer have high expectations because I've lowered them down to my ACOTAR rating. You get what I'm saying? Anyways, enough yapping for me. I haven't even read a page of this book yet. I'm gonna go start reading One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. Gillig. Hello and welcome to book update number 1. So it is a little bit less than 24 hours later. It is obviously the next day, the next evening to be exact, around 8 p.m. if we're gonna go with timestamps. I did sit down last night and read a good chunk of this book, to be completely honest with you guys. I think I read the first 10 chapters. Obviously, I read this on my Kindle because I was reading in the dark really late at night, but we're gonna pretend that I read it on this, so it just makes sense, you know? That aside, I genuinely really did enjoy the first 10 chapters of this, even though it wasn't what I was expecting, to be honest. Going into this, I actually knew just like tiny little bits of the plot, and I thought it was going to be her and one other guy going off to solve the quest of the mist and like to destroy the mist being a thing in their world, right? That's not what this is. That is not what this is at all, and I'm not like upset about it. I'm just still prepared to read about what we're reading about, you know? We're currently stuck in that castle with a whole bunch of rich people at this fancy party while she discovers like a secret society type thing within the... But I do like what we're doing, you know? Like, I don't hate it, but it's also like not what I was expecting, so I don't really know how I feel. But I do like the characters. I like the characters a lot. I'm also low-key really hoping that there's a romance between her and that one other character whose name I still don't know. Raven, maybe? I don't pay attention to names, I just kind of exist, you know? And one other thing that I want to mention before I hop back into Radiant Land, the nightmare in her brain, that dude is funny as heck. He's so funny. He makes me giggle, okay? I know he's supposed to be like weird and creepy and evil maybe. I think that's the vibe we're supposed to get, but I just think he's funny. I genuinely just think he's funny. But yeah, those are my very brief thoughts on this book so far. I'm very excited to continue reading. I almost didn't want to put it down, go to bed. I was up to like 2 reading this book. And it's probably gonna happen again tonight because I'm gonna go sit down. I'm gonna go read. I might actually finish this tonight. I'm not kidding you. I love it. I love it so much. But without further ado, I'm gonna go continue One Dark Window. So, yay for me! Okay, so I have obviously migrated upstairs. I only read 4 chapters of this downstairs just because of how it worked out timing wise. I didn't get a whole lot of time to read down there, which I'm upset about. And that does mean that we won't be able to finish this tonight because I know I have like a lot of time left because I'm not even halfway through the book. However, I still thought that it would be nice to catch up because I feel like in those 4 chapters that I read, chapters 11, 12, 13, and 14, a lot happened. And if you asked me how I felt about it, I would tell you that I don't know, because I'm genuinely just enjoying reading the book. Like it kind of almost feels like a necessity at this point in time. But I just pulled the book up on my Kindle because I'm wondering how much longer I have reading this book, and the Kindle tells you down in that little corner, and it says that I have 5 hours and 32 minutes left of my book. However, when I was reading this on my Kindle the last time, I literally fell asleep on multiple pages. I couldn't keep my eyes open. And for those of you who don't know, it like gauges your reading every time you open a new book. So I'm thinking it's going to take me more like 4.5 to 5 hours to finish a book, but that's just a lot of time that I don't have to do tonight. I am still going to sit down with it for a little bit though, because I'm so enthralled by the story and I want to read more. I love the characters, although I'm going to be real with you, I feel like there's a lot of them, like there's a lot. I really hope that now that we're going into like the main part of the book, that we are not going to see all of these characters all the time, because the way that they're all both family related and like have weird spelling names, my brain is not no bueno on that front. But I do like the characters like as the people. And there's only been like 2 or 3 times that I have like completely confused which character is which I'm proud of. Okay, only a couple times. It's pretty good record for me. However, I am gonna go back to reading in the dark on my Kindle. So we will reconvene in the morning and talk about what I read. But I'm excited to dive back into my book. So I will see you in the morning. I have officially finished reading One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig, and it's been a couple of days since I've done so because I had to sit with it for a second. I don't know what it was about that last 80, 90 pages that I went off and read, but something about it does not sit correctly with me. What do I mean by that? To be completely honest with you, I can't even tell you what I mean by that. It's just that something felt very off. And like nothing to do with like the characters or anything like that. It's just something doesn't feel right to me. I don't know. It's so bizarre, okay? Like it's so weird. I'm not upset with the way the plot is going. I'm not upset with what happened to our main character. Like I don't want to say expecting it, but like, oh, okay, that makes sense kind of moment. But I don't know, something about it just feels wrong, and I really can't explain it to you. And obviously, since it is a couple of days later, I made myself sit with it and think, why does this feel wrong? And I still can't tell you. So because it felt so wrong, I think it may have reflected just a tiny bit in my rating. But seeing as a couple of days after I finished the book, sorry about that, I thought my dog was eating something he shouldn't have been. Anyways, as I was trying to say, I think it might have reflected in the rating just a little bit when I gave this book a rating. However, I still stand by the rating that I gave it. And that rating is a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It has a certain aspect of fantasy that I feel like I don't see very often, that I can't really, I don't know, just like the whole monster in her head thing, like that seems new to me. Maybe it's not, but to me it's like never heard of before, right? However, I do know that it still has a lot of those fantasy aspects that I love, because as I was reading this, it so totally reminded me of an audiobook series I'm listening to right now, which is called the Prison Healer trilogy. I don't know why they remind me of each other, but I kept getting like the characters confused, and not like super confused to the point where I wasn't understanding the books, which is why I didn't understand the last part of this. It was just like, oh, I want to read this book, but is it the one I'm listening to, or is it the one that I was reading? Like what, that kind of thing. Anyways, as I've said, very much did enjoy One Dark Window. Very glad that I finished it, and very happy to be moving on to the second one in the duology, Two Twisted Crowns. Now this book is a good like 80-90 pages longer than the first one, which isn't like super intimidating for me. I've been reading a lot of big novels recently, funnily enough. I'm hoping that this has a happy ending. I believe that it does, because I want everything to go right, because I was loving the romance, really, honestly. But I don't know, those are my thoughts. Without further ado, let's go start reading Two Twisted Crowns. Hello, I apologize for the jump scare. Or hopefully it wasn't a jump scare, but do want to address the elephant in the room. I did get my hair cut. No, I don't like it. No, we don't have to talk about it. Okay? Okay. Now, obviously, because I have a whole new appearance, it has been quite a bit since we have sat down and talked about our book here. I have slowly been making my way through Two Twisted Crowns for about a week now, actually. And when I say slowly, I mean slowly. My original plan was to stop at the end of part one and have like a little debrief session before moving on. But the end of part one is like a little bit of a cliffhanger, and I was reading at night and I was really enthralled in the story. So I ended up reading like another 80 pages, and now I am on chapter 28, which is page 200, which is less than halfway through the book, but significant amount. So I'm going to be real when I say that I have a couple of issues with our book. Okay. At the end of book one, I remember feeling kind of really like not confused, but just lost, and just like I didn't really understand the plot and the premise of what I was reading. And I almost feel the same now. In book two, the plot is real straightforward. I know what we're doing, and I love that we're getting more perspectives from more people. That part, beautiful. Love that so much. But I feel like, I don't know, there's just something about it that's not, it's either missing or I'm not getting, or just maybe it's not for me. Like, don't get me wrong, love the storyline. I love the characters. Like, genuinely, now that we have slimmed our main characters down a lot, I understand more of what's going on. I am still mildly confused by a couple of characters, but that's okay, you know? They're like side characters and don't matter as much. And now that I understand like all of our main characters and how this book's plot is split up into like two different places, I like that more. And maybe that was my issue, is that I'm so used to books that have like two ongoing plots that like coincide but don't, that I had an issue with it and now I'm good. You know, like I don't know, but I like that part of it. I don't really hate the nightmare. I know that we're supposed to be probably mad at him. I don't hate him. I'm upset that we are missing out on our main character from book one, whose perspective we were in. But I mean, other than that, this kind of just feels like a middle of the road book to me. Like, it's not crazy out of this world. It's not terrible. It's just not what I was expecting, if that makes sense. I'm still excited to read on, and I'm still going to read on. Like, I want to finish the book. I don't feel like DNFing it, nothing like that. It's just I'm not clicking with the book. Is kind of the thing, you know? Like, I like it, just not, we ain't besties. So, just kind of here. I've also come to realize that the freaking cover is like symmetrical. The trees are symmetrical. Do you see that? But like one is just slightly off. One of them is slightly lower than the other one, and it's making me very mad. I even went back and looked at the first book, and the first book is like that too. Like the buildings, I don't think the buildings are. Oh, they are identical. The buildings are identical, and one of them is lower than the. Oh, I hate these covers. I love them so much, and now I hate them. Freaking cover discovery aside, I'm gonna go read on into Twisted Crowns. I don't know when we're gonna meet up again. I don't know when we're gonna talk again, because I don't know. I don't really know if anything major is going to happen. Is there a part three to this, or is it just? Oh, there is a part three. Okay, maybe we meet up after I finish part two. How many pages is that? Oh, that's like 100. Yeah, maybe we'll see. Either way, I'm gonna go read Two Twisted Crowns. I look forward to speaking with you about it soon. I finished part two. This is actually really deceptive. I didn't finish it in my physical copy. I finished part two on my Kindle, but I still am like, ooh, I'm in it now. I'm in it to win it. Yesterday is the last time that we sat down and had a little chat about this book. And I know yesterday I was like, there's something missing. Like, it's not there, right? And I actually was talking to my mom about it on the phone earlier today, because I was like, oh, I'm going to go finish Two Twisted Crowns. And she was like, oh my gosh, I've been wanting you to finish that forever, because my mom read this before me. And she's like, what do you think of it? I'm like, there's just something missing from it. Like, I don't really know what it is. I think it's like the detail aspect that I get in most of my fantasies, where it's like an overwhelming amount of detail, but it makes just the book feel more full, if that makes sense. And she's like, did you ever think that maybe you just don't know how to read? Guys, I promise I can read. I promise I'm comprehending. I don't know. I feel like this might be one of those books where I am reading it, I am comprehending it, and maybe subconsciously I wanted more from it, or I wanted the book to go a different way. What that different way would be, I have no idea, but it's not what I wanted out of it. Does that make sense? But at this point in the book, I am fully immersed. I really don't have anything negative to say at all. I love the characters. I love that we're still getting those like 2 or 3 perspectives, but it's in like 2 different like places in the world. And I love the new romance that has been developing through the whole book that I don't think I've mentioned before. The romance that has been developing and the point where we are at now. I love where it is. And with the last plot twist that we got, literally the sentence at the end of the chapter I just finished, that is vile, brother. That is vile. Why couldn't I don't wish death on any of my characters most of the time, but that one, they could have died and I would have been a-okay. A-okay. Speaking of death, in the other part of the book that we're following with Raven and Elspeth as they go to do that thing, why are they killing so many people? Like, is it really necessary? Is it really necessary that we kill them all? Like, maybe it's to show like the importance of the mission or like how dangerous it is, but I don't like that. I also don't love the thing with the trees that we did like 2 chapters ago. I don't really understand that. Like, I get it, but why so many layers? And like this, okay, this does bring me back to the thing that I was saying. There's so many layers to the magic, and I don't understand it. I need like there to be like a magic dictionary in here or something that explains the trees and the spirit of the woods and the cards and like who tops who, you know, who has the most magical power, how do they connect, why do they connect? Like, confused. Me is confused. However, I do totally understand the cards now and how the cards came to be because we got that little like, what are they called, backstory clip scene. Did appreciate that. But I officially only have part 3 left, which is To Bend. I'm very excited. I think it's about 100 pages, if I'm not mistaken. So 110 pages, and I am gonna go finish Two Twisted Crowns right now. Right now. Because I'm enthralled. So let's go sit down and let's go finish Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gilligan. I'm popping in here really quickly to say that I just finished chapter 41. Chapter 42 is next, and I was real confused at the ending of chapter 41 because I'm like, who the heck is that character? Right? I didn't know. I looked back in the book, I figured out who it was, and then I googled if that character's like how that character's name related to the trees, because if you know, I don't think I've mentioned this, but every single main character's last name, like of the royal families or of the high families that are always at those parties, they all relate to a different tree, right? So there's elm and there's yew and there's spindle. And I couldn't figure out who this one character was that we talked about at the end of chapter 41, like literally the last sentence of chapter 41. Yeah, 41. Guys, that connection, I had to Google it. I Googled what that character's last name meant and how it's connected to the. Oh, that's good. That's good. Mitch Rachel Gilligig. That one, that was good. I have finished the duology. I really and truly do not know how I feel about the ending of this one. No, that's not true. I do know how I feel, and I don't think unsatisfied's the word, because I like how it ended. I did like the ending, but I just don't feel the need to tell anybody about it. You get what I'm saying? With that said, though, I am going to tell you all my thoughts because that's kind of the point of a freaking reading vlog. So, let us discuss the ending of Two Twisted Crowns. With every fiber of my being, I actually did like part 3, especially once we got into the deep plot part of it. I was in love with the third part of this book. I don't know if I was just not there for the first 2 parts or what was happening, but still can't really remember. Like I can remember, but nothing like notables jumping out at me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Because of that, I already know my rating for this book. The Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gilligan is gonna get 3 stars from me. I don't know what I rated the first one. I think it was either a 3 or a 3.5. I could take the 2 seconds to check, but I won't. Instead, I'll have editing me put it on screen for you. You're welcome. I no longer stand by the fact that there was something missing in this book. I think this book was exactly what it needed to be and had all of the elements of a story that it needed to have. I think I might be the problem with this one. I might be the problem. Once again, I didn't hate it. It wasn't terrible. I thoroughly, not thoroughly, but I did enjoy myself throughout the entirety of the novel. There was no part of the novel I was like, can we just keep going? Like, it was beautifully paced. I liked the story. I like the characters. However, that little plot twist that we got that I actually stopped to talk to you guys about, I knew that for like the entirety of the second half of the book, ever since it was mentioned earlier, like a little part of it. So I don't know if it was supposed to be like not a cliffhanger, a plot twist. Oh my gosh, I've literally already said it. I don't know if it was supposed to be like this big plot twist or if it was just like, hey, here's the information handed to you on a silver platter and now the characters are discovering it, but I thought it was clear. And not even because of the freaking last name thing, just because of how they talked about the relationship between those 2 characters. Like, duh. Duh. Either way, I loved the ending of this book. I think it was very sweet, and it is gonna get a 3 out of 5 stars from me. Now, the question of would I recommend this duology, it's kind of up in the air. I think if you're looking for a beginning fantasy, but you're good with like character comprehension, then yeah. But just be prepared. There's a lot of characters. I know I've said that, but I genuinely was still getting confused. And the second half of this book, I'm like, who, what, where, what, hi, why, how, right? Like, it's just, there's a lot. There's a lot. Nonetheless, thank you for reading the Shepherd King duology with me. I did have fun going through it, and I hope that you did too. As always, I hope that you're having so much fun in your little book worlds, and I cannot wait to see you guys next Wednesday. Bye!